Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, viewers of all ages, we're back to the show Just My Thoughts. I'm your host, Erick Coughlin, and today on the Thought Tracker, we're going to knock down goats, 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 goats. And I'm not talking about farm animals, I'm talking about the greatest of all time. That's what GOAT stands for, greatest of all time. And I put an S on it for plural because I'm not going to talk about just one goat. I'm going to talk about multiple goats. Multiple goats, what are you talking about? I'm going to give you the greatest of all time boxer, Muhammad Ali, how you doing? The greatest of all time basketball player, Michael Jordan, how you doing? The greatest of all time football player, Tom Brady. That's right. I mean, I understand that he's the GOAT of quarterbacks, but if you're going to break down and call him the GOAT of quarterbacks, you might as well call him the GOAT of NFL, period. So that's why Tom Brady is the GOAT of the NFL. Talk about the GOATs of the WWE, WWF. Let's just say the wrestling world in general. I don't care if it's WWF. I don't care if it's WCW. I don't care if it's ECW. I don't care if it's a wrestling. We're talking about Shawn Michaels. How you doing? Um, Baseball, the greatest of all time baseball player has to be, without a shot of a doubt, Derek Jeter. And he has some competition to be off, to be rightfully true. Some people might say Ken Griffey Jr., and I could say, hey, that's a hell of a name to put on there. But I mean, I don't know if it's me, it's Derek Jeter. If it's somebody else, it might be Ken Griffey Jr. However, both of them are great. But if you have to pick one, I am picking Derek Jeter. How you doing? Hockey has to be Wayne Gretzky. That's like, the most famous name, most known name in the hockey world would be Wayne Gretzky. So we've did boxing, we've did basketball, we've did football, we've did hockey, we've did baseball, we've did wrestling. Um, how you doing? Now all those are just name drops for their respected fields or sports, however you want to call it. Um, and so this is what brought up goats to begin with. I've just been pondering on what to give you guys next, right? So I've been doing a lot of research with Bing, been doing a lot of research with Google, been doing a lot of research with Yahoo, and it really boiled down to me just having to wing it. Like this is just a wing it situation today. Today's segment is all me. There's no stats to give you guys. I didn't do a whole lot of homework. I didn't do a whole lot of research. I'm giving you what I know as a sports fan. So that being said, let's get started and let's get opened up with probably the greatest goat of all the goats, right? Of the seven names that I just list, I think I listed seven. Let's just recap them real quick. Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Derek Jeter, Shawn Michaels, Wayne Gretzky. So that's five. Six would be Tom Brady. So let's okay. So six names. Let's just keep it at that. We're gonna open up with, in my opinion, the goat of all goats, Muhammad Ali. You have to take in consideration of everything that he's been through growing up in his life and everything that he dealt with. He boxed during a time where boxing was kind of famous, and also like the world was kind of crazy, right? So you know the whole racist thing. He got to do his career during the same time Martin Luther King was doing his thing, during the time where Vietnam was going on. That's kind of like iconic in his whole career. Everyone's all like, "Oh, how could you love somebody that didn't want to fight for the country?" Well, let me ask you something. Would you want to fight for the country if you were the world heavyweight boxing champion? No, you wouldn't want to fight for him. I mean, let's just be honest. And that's the whole reason why he became Muslim to begin with. Like, everyone's like, oh, you're the most un American person in the world. He's like, okay, you don't want me to be you don't want me to stand up for my rights and my beliefs as an American. Maybe I'll stand up for my rights and my beliefs as a Muslim. So that's what he did. And I give him like, the greatest title. I mean, like I said, he's the goat of goats in my opinion. Here's what I love about him. Screw all the Vietnam crap. Screw all the Dodge drafting crap. Screw all that. This is what the man did at 22 years old. He became the world heavyweight boxing champion. He had to go in there and fight somebody like, Sonny Liston, who was the world heavyweight champion and who was a beast of a man. Sonny Liston outweighed the guy by like 40 pounds. He stood taller than the guy by 2 inches. He was I wouldn't call him a mammoth. He wasn't just like towering, over Muhammad, but he was definitely a bigger man than Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad was cool, right? Like he was the kind of guy that would beef up a fight, right? He would promote himself. He'd get on a microphone and just start rhyming and rapping. He's basically rapping, you know, about how he's going to knock somebody out. He'd tell you, "Hey, I'm going to go out here in 3 rounds and the fight's going to be over." And then iconically, it would be a 3 round match. If he said, "Hey, I'm going to beat you in six," it'd be a 6 round match. If he said, "Hey, I'm gonna whip your ass all day long, 15 fucking rounds. You're not gonna touch me. All I'm gonna do is piss you off, and at the end of it, be crowned champion." That's exactly what he did. So like what he did with Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston said, "Keep on talking. I'm gonna fuck you up." 3 rounds later, got crowned the youngest champion of all time. That's incredible. How about like because of all the Dodge drafting, because of he didn't want to go to Vietnam, excuse me. He had to, go to prison. I don't know if a lot of people even know that or not, but he went to prison for not joining the war. But then after getting out of the prison, the boxing community stripped him of his title. They give it to Joe Frazier. That's right. Joe Frazier never really beat Muhammad for that title. He got the title because Muhammad went to prison. So then what does he do? He gets out of prison. Finally, what did he do? 3 years, I think. If you did your history, I think you found out he was locked up for 3 years. So 3 years of no boxing, no training, no nothing, just locked up in a prison cell. Um, Gets all that behind him, gets out of prison, and gets back into boxing shape. And before he's in shape, right before he starts training, before anything, he goes straight to the boxing boxing committee, and tells them exactly how he feels about getting his title stripped and how he wants it back, and then how he was cleared to fight. So they said, okay, well, if you want your title back, you're gonna have to knock out the champion, Joe Frazier. So he personally calls Joe. He's like, hey man, you know, I'm out of prison. I got my license back. You've got my title, and I'm not cool with that. So what are we gonna do? He's like, well, I'll tell you what you're gonna do. I'll give you a fight. If you want this title from me, you're gonna have to take it from me. What does he do? He takes it from him. He beats Joe. He beats Joe Frazier. Not only does he beat Joe Frazier, then he gives Joe Frazier his rightful rematch. Joe Frazier, wins round. I don't know what round, but the second fight, Joe Frazier wins, pisses Muhammad off. So he comes after him. A third fight and has a record over Joe Frazier, 2-1. Joe Frazier only beat the guy once out of 3 fights, and so he had to get his title back and then get his title back again. So, I mean, that's just awesome. And then not just that, to have the balls to fight someone that is a mammoth, and he did do that. It wasn't Sonny Liston that was a mammoth. It was George Foreman that was a mammoth. Muhammad was an old man, 36, 37, 38 years old, where George Foreman was young and beefy, 24 years old, just a big giant, and Muhammad called him a mummy, said that he was too big, too dumb, and too slow to beat him. And he proved it to the whole world by beating the crap out of George Foreman. Did the rope a dope. He laid up on the ropes. He let the big man beat the crap out of him until he got tired. And then he danced all over his ass and knocked him out in the 8th round. That's what I'm talking about. I love anybody who's going to stand in front of a microphone, in front of millions of people, in front of a camera, being broadcast in front of millions of people, and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and then gets in the ring and does everything that he says he's going to do. I love that. That's why Muhammad is the GOAT of GOATs. He's the one man that I've stood in my life, which I didn't get to live through it, but I've got to rewatch it through movies and rewatch it through classic fights. If you don't know that, all you got to do is use YouTube. The same way you watch my show, you can watch Muhammad Ali. Just type in Muhammad Ali classic fights. Guess what? Which I used to do this, not with YouTube. I did this as a teenager, through the grace and the likelihood of ESPN. So, and HBO, believe it or not, HBO was really big into boxing. So you could watch HBO classic fights, or you could watch ESPN's the Hard Knock Classics. And what you would get to watch is all the old school fights that happened in the 60s, that happened, uh, 40s, 50s, 60s. And this was before internet was really popular. I'm sure internet was around, but unless you were come from a rich upkeep, you didn't really have internet. I didn't have internet growing up. Hell, we barely had cable growing up. But because of cable and because of ESPN and because of HBO, I got to watch a lot of Muhammad Ali fights. I'm talking about a lot. I've tried to watch almost every single one of them, but a lot of them were like repeats, right? Like I said, he fought Frazier 3 times. He fought Foreman, I think, twice. He fought Liston twice that I know of. He might have fought Liston 3 times, but I only know of twice. And then the Ernie Terrell, I think I said that right, Ernie Terrell. One of the most iconic fights of all time. The "What's my name, motherfucker" fight. That was a real thing. That was a real beef. Actually, you could, if you do your history, Muhammad, he said the only fight that he was ever mad in was the Ernie Terrell fight. All the other fights were literally just his job. Like he boxed for a living, so he went in there and he boxed for a living. It wasn't his fault that he beat up everybody that they put in front of him. That was lack of talent in the boxing world, and not just lack of talent in the boxing world, but an amazing gratificational talent in him and himself. Like he's the goat of all goats. Second goat of all goats would be Michael Jordan. And a lot of people are like, I can't believe you put Jordan second. Well, here's the thing. Uh, I love Michael Jordan, right? I love the Chicago Bulls, right? I love basketball, right? It's my favorite sport. But did Michael Jordan ever stand in front of a camera and say, hey, I'm going to beat this man in 3 rounds and become the world's youngest champion of all time? No, he never did. Muhammad did. And he said and completed that goal. That's, you know what I mean? If you can, to me, if you can tell the world, almost like future telling, right? If you can tell the world what you're going to do and you go out there and you fucking do it, that means you're better than everybody, in my opinion. That's why GOAT number one is Muhammad Ali. GOAT number two, Michael Jordan. And he's done things that's never been done, right? The first three-peat, and then the first second three-peat, right? The world never seen it happen once, but it wasn't good enough for him. He had to do it twice, and that's what he did. And truth be told, there would never be any kind of championships in the Bulls locker room without him. He's proven that. That's how great he is. That's why he's the second GOAT. Not just the championships in Chicago. You have to understand the evolution of basketball, right? If there was never a Michael Jordan, the way people play today wouldn't even exist. And that's the truth, right? Basketball is kind of before the Michael Jordan era. I mean, I knew that there was Larry Bird, and I knew that there was Magic Johnson, and I know that those dudes were pretty good ball players, right? Pretty good ball players. But what were they? They were guys that kind of dribbled okay. Um, they shot the ball pretty well, but it was like very articulate. Before Michael was like an artist. He was like Leonardo da Vinci going out there and just spreading his greatness all over the court. Everything that he did, literally, he's the only basketball player that I've ever seen in my life that everything he did was phenomenal. I'm talking about it would take an entire basketball team to try to stop this man from scoring. That's how phenomenal he is. How many players today, or even 10 years ago, or even 15 years ago, did it ever take an entire team to stop one man from scoring? Only once in my life. Michael Jordan, how you doing? That's why he's the second GOAT. That's why he's the GOAT of the NBA. He always will be. I don't care what happens in the next 20 years. Look, if I'm 50 years old and people, there's this new generational talent. I mean, people already, they do this, right? They do it with Giannis. They call him the Greek Freak. They did it with LeBron. They said, oh, he's the best player. Oh, I think he could have took Jordan, blah, blah, blah. They're always going to do this, but they're always going to do what? Compare a new player to Michael Jordan. Now, the only reason why you want to compare anybody to Michael Jordan is because of the simple fact that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. How you doing? All right, now let's get to let's get to Derek Jeter for a second. So I don't have a whole lot of stats on Derek Jeter, but I do know this. I do know that Derek Jeter played professional baseball for about 16 years. That's phenomenal. And the reason why that's phenomenal is because, in my personal opinion, growing up, I grew up playing all the sports, or I attempted to try to play all the sports. The hardest sport in the world to me to play was baseball. Sure, you could pick the thing up and you could throw the thing, you could catch the thing, all that. But if you can't, if your eyes are off whack like they were mine, I'll just admit it. I could do everything on the field except hit the fucking ball. To me, that was the hardest thing to do. So, to play 16 years and think about it like this. So when you're at the plate, an average, okay, this is what everybody can do. This is an average. An average pitcher can throw that thing about 93 miles an hour. You're going to stand at a plate and let someone throw a fucking ball at you at 93 miles an hour as fast as a car can drive? Then it takes balls to do that. To do it for 16 years, it takes mega fucking balls. And then I would say this, I would say his batting average. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't do a lot of, I didn't do a lot of statting. I didn't do a lot of checking. This is just me watching as a fan all my life. I'd say he's probably got one of the highest batting averages of all time. Definitely makes contact. If he goes to the plate 5 times, he's hitting the ball 4 out of the 5 times. Just phenomenal. The way he played the field was phenomenal. How many times you see people turn double plays or triple plays? Only Derek Jeter in my lifetime did I ever see somebody, catch the ball as it come off, line drive, boom, catch the ball, tag the runner, throw it to first, triple play by one person. I've only seen Derek Jeter do stuff like that in my life. I mean, there's probably other people that can do it, and it probably happens more than what I think because I don't watch enough baseball. But I'd just say that in itself is freaking phenomenal, and I'd say that he's done that more than anybody in history. That's why we're talking about him. That's why he's baseball's GOAT. Wayne Gretzky, hockey GOAT, probably. I wish I would have done more homework on Wayne Gretzky. I don't know exactly how long his career was, but I think it was pretty close to 13, 14, 15 years in hockey in the NHL. That is mega, mega, mega accomplishments to be able to do something like that. Most of your hockey players, most of their careers are around 7 or 8 years. Let's be honest, it's one of the hardest sports in the world to play. Yes, I'd say that, and I'll say it again. Harder than baseball, I would have to say. Think about it. You have to be able to ice skate, all right? Then you have to be able to give hits, receive hits, all right? You have to be able to chase a puck. Your puck is no longer, I mean, maybe the size of a biscuit, probably small. There's probably biscuits in this world bigger than a hockey puck is. You know what I'm saying? When that thing gets hit, look, taking consideration that it's sliding all over ice, taking consideration that it's getting hit by a fucking wooden stick, a puck probably travels 40 miles an hour easy. Even when you're passing it, it's probably going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. When you're shooting, it's probably going 60, 70 miles an hour. Now, I'm just guessing, I'm just spitting enough numbers, but I'm telling you, these things come at you at an enormous rate of speed. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes, watching the Blackhawks play. I've seen people, shoot at the goal, and somebody like Duncan Keith just be there, get hit in the mouth. I've seen Duncan Keith spit teeth out on the ice from getting hit in the face by your freaking hockey puck. I mean, that's how hard it's coming at you. It's coming at you so hard that it breaks your fucking teeth out of your mouth. It's a serious, serious game. It's a game that I love. It's a game that a lot of people love. I think it should be more publicized. I think hockey should be in every state. And I mean that because here's the thing. Not only is it excruciating, it's a lot of fun to be. I don't know how many people out there can ice skate. I can ice skate. I've been on the ice several times. And it's not because I'm from Chicago. Actually, I've ice skated here in Mississippi in Tupelo. You could actually go to Tennessee and ice skate. There's ice skating around the South. And as a matter of fact, Nashville Predators, they won the cup, Stanley Cup. That's what it's called. That's why I said the cup. They won the cup back in 19 and 20. So there's hockey in the South. The Blues, St. Louis is not too far from here, like 5 hours away, but it's not South. It's like Central America, or like in the center of the United States. I said Central America. I meant Central United States is what I meant. But so there's hockey around here. As a matter of fact, Florida's got a really good one. I think they're called the Florida Panthers. I could be wrong about that. I should know more about it, but I haven't been keeping up with it because the Hawks kind of trash. Hawks are going through a rebuilding year, so it was really hard for me to pay attention to this season. Losing Jonathan Tays and losing Patrick Kane really hurt my feelings because they are what brought me into the hockey world. And now that they're gone, I'm kind of sad and beat up about it. But anyway, so like I said, one of the hardest games to play, probably one of the funnest games to play, as very, very extremely popular in Canada. You would think that it's like mandatory in Canada, like, hey, you have to play because you're from freaking Canada. But it's pretty mainstream in the United States as well. And Wayne Gretzky is by far, like I said, I think 15, 16 year career, just phenomenal career to play a game that's so brutal. I mean, think about it like this. This is the only sport that I've ever come across in my life besides like fighting. UFC, it's just, they consider that a sport. I don't consider that a sport. It's a fucking bloodbath fight. I mean, it's straight. You can't call that a sport. You can call boxing a sport. You can't call UFC a sport, in my opinion. But back to what we're saying. It's the only sport that I know of where it's a strategy. Now, the Hawks do it, or they used to do it all the time. I'm sure that they still do. I'm sure everyone kind of does this. You could take your worst guy and say, hey, man, go take this dude out. And he can go off the bench straight to your opponent's best player, start a fucking fight, knock this dude out. Whether you win or lose, odds are you're probably going to win because you have no talent. Your whole purpose, they're called enforcers. Your whole purpose is to take out the other team's best player. And so he gets on the ice, goes starts a fucking fight. They both go in the penalty box for 5 minutes, and that gives your team a 5 minute advantage that their best players now off of the ice. All your best players are still on the ice because you just used one of your worst fucking players to take out one of their best players. It's strategized. It's what you do in hockey. It's the only sport that I know that it's legal. It's legal to just go out there and start a fucking fist fight. Both of you guys, even if you didn't start, this is the way it works. So if you didn't start the fight, but you're in the fight, guess what? You hit the penalty box. So you get the same exact penalty as the guy that started the damn fight. It's brilliant. I'm telling you, that is how you win hockey games. You win hockey games by taking out the other guy's best team, right? Or best player. And you can legally do that through hockey. That's why I love hockey. Like I said, it's exhilarating, it's exciting, it's fun, and it's chaotic all at the same time. You're going to see hits, you're going to see blood, you're going to see finesse. We got a guy named Lafferty. He's one of our newer guys. In fact, I don't know, he might have been on the team a couple of years now. Lafferty is so fast, lightning fast, can shoot the puck really, really well, can skate like no one's business. I've seen Lafferty come off and fight off icings. This dude is just to be fast, to be, you know, accurate with your puck, to be on the ice skating. These guys are probably skating somewhere close to, 40 miles an hour or so. They're moving as fast as four wheelers and dirt bikes. You got to think about that. Hockey's a scary damn game, but like I said, it's also exhilarating, it's exciting, and it's fun. That's why I like hockey, and I've been liking hockey for 15 years now. I'm 25, so I didn't get a good jump on hockey. Actually, I'm 35. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said 25. I wish I was still 25. But I fell in love with it somewhere close to 15 years ago, around the age of 20. Went home to Chicago, got to visit my Uncle Rich, got to visit my Uncle Brian. And it was ironically during the same time, it was spring break. My cousin Matt, it was the only reason why we went up there. We went up there so he can just go hang out with his brother and his uncles for spring break. So that's what we did. And it happened to be during the time of the playoffs. And so I was like, my uncles, they're all, we all, we do things, right? You know what I mean? We drink beer, we smoke pot, whatever. We eat pizza, whatever, whatever. So my Uncle Brian calls up my Uncle Rich. He's like, hey, man, what are you doing? You gonna watch this Hawks game or what? He's like, I'm gonna watch this Hawks game. He's like, all right, well, I'm on my way. So he shows up with 2 cases of freaking beer, and I'm like, why you got so much fucking beer? He's like, because it's a hockey game, we're gonna drink this much beer. And then they order a couple of fucking pizzas, like 40-inch pizzas, huge pizzas that I don't even know where all in the world you can get pizzas so damn big. But I'm telling you, in Chicago, Illinois, you can get pizzas so damn big it'd shock you. He ordered pizza, and then he ordered a calzone, and we watched the hockey game. And by the end of the first period, I didn't know nothing, right? By the end of the game, I knew all the rules. I knew the players. It was the first time I ever really sat down and watched an organized game. It's the same exact game I watched Duncan Keith get his teeth knocked out, and I was just like, "You're fucking kidding me! This dude is still going to play." Yes, he still played. He helped us win the championship that year, 2010. We won a championship, and that was also the same year that we went down there, and I got to introduce myself into hockey, and I've loved it ever since. Thank you, Uncle Rich. Thank you, Uncle Brian. Thank you, Blackhawks. How you doing? So now that brings us up to Tom Brady, being the GOAT of GOATs in the major National Football League, NFL, National Football League. How you doing? And this is without a doubt undebatable. What? It's undebatable. That's what I just said. How many quarterbacks in the world since NFL's been around has played in 8 Super Bowls? I think 1. How many of them have won 6 Super Bowls? I think 2. So The only other one that could arguably, be thrown up into this conversation would be Joe Montana. But the fact is, Joe Montana played in 6 of them. I don't even think Joe Montana. I think Joe Montana won 5 out of 6, and Tom Brady has won 6 out of 8. And then the next closest one would be Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning played in, I think he played in 7 and won 5. I think Peyton Manning's lost twice. I think Joe Montana's lost twice. And I think Tom Brady has lost twice. The difference is the wins category. He has won more than the other ones. So, and and here's another thing that's so amazing about Tom Brady. So it was pretty much an automatic guess from about 2000 to about 2000, 18. For about 8 years, you could just automatically say, "Oh, I think Patriots are going to go to the Super Bowl." Because they had Tom Brady. It was a surefire bet. I mean, that's how great the guy is. But then, he gets tired of being on the same team. He's getting a little older in age. He's sick of being freezing ass cold. He goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where it's nice, where it's hot, where it's warm in Florida, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he's just going to suck up retirement. He's just going to go on there and play on the beaches and enjoy the warm weather." Well, he probably did all that. He probably enjoyed the warm weather. He probably sucked up the beaches just like everybody thought. But you know what he also did that no one thought? He also went to 3 more Super Bowls after leaving the Patriots and won 2 out of the 3. How you doing? He's the GOAT of the NFL. That's what I'm talking about. And then that brings us to the GOAT of WWE, Shawn Michaels, World Wrestling Federation. Here's the thing about Shawn. So Shawn started out like in the very late 80s, right? And he just he didn't retire. So you figure from, like, let's just say his rookie year. I'm just going to guess this now. I should have did more research than what I did, but I'm going to guess his rookie year was around 86. He retired, like publicly, nationally retired in 2017. So that's like a 30-year career, somewhere around 30 years that he wrestled. Are you freaking kidding me? First of all, people say, "Oh, wrestling's fake. It's not that serious." Well, yeah, injuries are real. Injuries are very, very serious in my opinion. And also, in my opinion, here's the thing. It takes immaculate strength to do what these guys are doing. Yeah, I understand it's not a real fight. It's not the UFC. I understand that. But they are really picking each other up. They're really slamming each other down in this ring. So it really takes body strength to be able to do that. How you doing? It also takes charisma to always be on the microphone. If you watch wrestling and if you know wrestling, you know this. You know that there's always going to be a mic. There's always going to be someone talking on it. To be able to be charismatic, to make people laugh, to make people mad, to make people sad, to inflict people's emotions. It takes a great person to be able to do that. He did that. He was like a mic master. How you doing? And he kept it real. So it's like he was a little bitty dude. I understand that. But he didn't always fight little bitty dudes. And as a matter of fact, I would make an argument and say this: the bigger the guy his opponent was, the better he fought. What are you talking about? I'm talking about, well, the likes of him and Undertaker. Undertaker's almost 7 foot tall. Shawn Michaels was an average, 6'1", 6'2" kind of guy. But he would take it to Undertaker all day long. How about Vader? He took it to Vader all day long. How about guys like Kevin Nash? Took it to Kevin Nash all day long. People that were predominantly bigger than this dude, he would he'd outshine him, man. He was an entertainer. First of all, you never knew how he was going to come into the ring in his younger ages. In the 94, 95, 96 stages of his career. I've seen him come down from the ceiling on tight ropes. I've seen him all flashy with the with his jackets and his damn pants, and he was just an all around amazing guy. Like, no matter what the gimmick was, if he was going to be a solo wrestler, or if he was going to be in a faction with DX, or if he was going to be in a faction with Diesel, him and Diesel were buddies, and actually they were buddies like in real life. And a lot of people don't know the story, but Kevin Nash had tried to swindle Shawn Michaels to go into the WCW. He's like, "Hey man, me and Scott are out of here. You'll go with us?" And he's like, "Why would I do that?" He's like, "This is home. Vince pays us more than what we're worth. Why would I ever go to WCW when I can stay here and be the man?" And that's exactly what he did. He stayed there and he became the man. He got the championship. Now he had injuries, blew out his knee, had to he sat out like a year and a half, but then he come back. Eventually got his title. Actually, I think he's a Grand Slam champion. I think he's won every title there is. He's been a tag team champion. He's been a European champion. He's been an Intercontinental champion. He's been the World Heavyweight champion. There's not a title. He didn't win the Hardcore champion, but that wasn't his style. And hardcore matches came up like way later. Like that started becoming a thing in 2002, 2003. You know, that's when the hardcore shit started really happening. And that really wasn't him. Like he was a finesse guy. He wanted to make people be entertained. He was the guy that was going to glue people to their seats with matches like Hell in a Cell, with ladder matches, with cage matches. And let's be honest, that sweet chin music that everyone, okay, first of all, in a modern day wrestling right now, almost everybody does what they call the super kick. Shawn Michaels invented that super kick and he called it the sweet chin music. He was the first person to start knocking people out by kicking them in the damn face. Now everyone does it. That's why he's the GOAT. Another thing that he used to do that you see everybody do now, you know, the elbow off the top rope. There was only one dude besides Shawn Michaels that really primarily did that and made it famous, and that was Macho Man Randy Savage. But outside of Macho Man Randy Savage, you never saw it unless it was Shawn Michaels. Those were the only two people that ever really did that. The elbow off the top rope. Two dudes made it famous. Shawn Michaels and Macho Man Randy Savage. And then another thing, like the sharpshooter, like that was the thing about Shawn Michaels was he'd either kick your face off, or he'd kill you with his elbow, or he'd put your ass in a sharpshooter, or a figure four, or a fucking ankle lock. Like he was a submission god. People don't even give him the credit that he deserves. He would tap your ass out more than one way. What? I said more than one way. Shawn was a gift from the heavens in the World Wrestling Federation, and that is the truth, and that's why he's the GOAT. You don't win all those titles unless you're the baddest man walking in the locker room, and that's exactly what he is. If you were to find a way to get into a locker room or even just like online message somebody and say, hey man, in your opinion, who's the greatest of all time? Everyone that's ever been in the ring with Michael would say Shawn Michaels. As a matter of fact, if you watch Stone Cold podcast, because I do that. I watch a lot of different podcasts. Just to be boldly honest with you guys, I watch the Pat McAfee show. I watch the Stone Cold Broken Sessions, Broken Skull Sessions. I watch the After the Bell with Corey Graves. I watch a lot of different podcasts to help me, you know, find things to talk about and see what they're doing that I'm not doing. But they're, you know, they got millions of dollars and they got a lot of equipment that I just don't have. So that's the reason why I'm like very low budget. I would be like a C show, like a C rated podcast show on it, and that's okay. These are still my dark days, right? Eventually, I'm gonna start making some money and start booming and start having things going on that all these other guys have on. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So Stone Cold had a podcast session with The Rock, and he said, "Hey man," he's like, "I'm just gonna be honest with you." He's like, "And you don't have to answer me, you know, just a question, just an open question." He said, who was the greatest you've ever been in the ring with?" The Rock says, "Shawn Michaels." He's like, "Oh yeah, I agree with you." And then Stone Cold himself says, "I'm gonna be honest with you." He's like, "That's exactly my pick. Shawn Michaels was the Michael Jordan of our era." So everyone thinks that Stone Cold was awesome. Everyone thinks that The Rock was awesome. Both of those dudes think that Shawn Michaels was awesome. I mean, he's the Heartbreak Kid, baby. It don't get no better than that. Um, so that's why he's my goat, and I think he's a lot of other people's goats as well. But that pretty much wraps up the segment for today. I didn't have a whole lot to talk about, and I still took a little over a half hour to talk about how I feel about the goats and listed the goats of my generational era, minus Muhammad. But like I said, growing up as a kid, I watched a lot of Muhammad, not just movies. I watched his real fights and classic fights on ESPN and HBO Hard Knock Classics. And I don't even know if that's still a thing. Like honestly, I don't know if HBO is still doing that. I do know that there's still HBO Boxing. I do know that, and it's actually it's just as good as it ever has been. But the world of boxing itself is not that popular, right? And that's because of likes of UFC. UFC has stole the show of boxing, and to me, it's ridiculous because boxing is truly a sport where UFC is truly a combat. Like it's just it's a legal form of the guys getting in the ring and beating the fuck out of each other, and you know that's just it's not a sport. I'm sorry, it's just not. But anyway, like there are good boxers in today's world. Tyson Fury, I've got to watch about 6 of his fights. I've never seen this in my life. Tyson Fury might be the second greatest boxer of all time. He's like the modern day Muhammad Ali. Listen, I've watched 6 different fights. This dude keeps about 4 feet, 5 feet of distance between him and his opponent, and still has the audacity, the reach, the strength to knock the living piss out of his opponents. I'm not joking you. I've never seen anyone be so far away from someone and just right hook someone straight to the fucking ground. That's what he does. Or straight jab someone like 10 fucking times. Boom, boom, boom. You ain't gonna block it. I'm just gonna knock the fucking piss out of you. That's what Tyson Fury does. He is an animal. If you want to see a real boxer in the modern day world, you need to watch Tyson Fury. And then about a month ago, actually probably less than a month ago, probably a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I found out that his brother boxes, right? Tommy Fury. And I was like, man, Tyson is so badass. I got to check out his little brother. And the matchup happened to be against him and Jake Paul. So Jake Paul is now a boxer, like a legal, legitimate boxer. He's in the boxing world now and actually has a record of 5-1. You want to know that one match that he lost? He lost against Tommy Fury. These Fury kids are bad to the bone, which I'm calling them kids, and that's not even fair because both of them probably kicked my ass. I think Tommy is like 32, and I think Tyson is 37. So one's younger than me, one's older than me by a couple of years. But these guys are true, legitimate boxers, and I have a very well-rounded understanding of what a good boxer looks like. And I'll name a couple of good boxers before we wrap all this up. Now, of course, I told you Muhammad Ali is the best of all time, and I've talked about George Foreman, I talked about Joe Frazier, and I mentioned, the Ernie Terrell fight. But outside of that, like I used to legitimately watch HBO boxing every night. Like I wanted to be a boxer growing up. That's the truth. I really did want to get in the ring physically and knock the hell out of anybody that got in my way. That's just what I wanted to do. So I loved watching Oscar De La Hoya. I watched a lot of Oscar De La Hoya fights, probably 10 Oscar De La Hoya fights in my life. I have watched about 6 or 7 Robert Duran fights. I thought Robert Duran was a really tough dude. Of course, Floyd Mayweather Jr. I think, he's like the second. Everyone would say he's second to Muhammad Ali, but I think that's only because Tyson Fury is so new. Tyson Fury has only been fighting for like maybe 6, 7, maybe 10 years. I don't know. Because like I said, I fell out of boxing for a long time and I'm just now getting back into it. So I don't know how long Tyson's been boxing, but Tyson's great. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is great. Muhammad Ali is the GOAT. Oscar De La Hoya was amazing. Robert Duran was really good. And I tell you, Manny Pacquiao was a really phenomenal boxer too. Very sloppy guy. He didn't look pretty. That's what I loved about Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya looked pretty in the ring. Um, Pacquiao did not, but Pacquiao was a guy that you could beat him senseless and he'd still find a way to win the match. That's what I loved about Manny Pacquiao. That dude was a beast of a man. Like, didn't take no for an answer. Unless you were strong enough to knock him out, you probably were not going to beat him. He would fight all 15 rounds if you could not knock him out and beat you by points. That is exactly how he win a lot of his fights. A lot of his fights went the distance the whole damn time. But the difference was that he was tagging you 3-1. If you hit him 30 times, he probably hit you 90. And that's the truth about Manny Pacquiao. And that's why he's also being talked about. So just to clarify that I do love boxing and I do have a well-rounded, uh, core of what good boxing looks like compared to what shitty boxing looks like. I'm not just a guy. Yes, I loved all the Rockies, but I didn't just watch Rocky and think, oh yeah, this is what boxing is. No, those are movies. I know what real boxing is, and I just delivered to you some of the greatest boxing names of all time. How you doing? So, if you enjoyed the show, if you like what you heard and you enjoyed what you see, always feel free to cash at me, Eric Daniel Coughlin, cash tab. Also, remember to like and subscribe to the channel to keep me going. Have a good day. Have a good day. Have a good day.